All right, welcome to the live stream. This is the Disturbing Illusion channel. We are going to be watching Hurricane Milton come in. We've already got storm surge happening. This right here is a view of Naples, Florida. We're going to take a look at a couple of maps and a couple of live action cams. Let's just take a look at what the Weather Channel's saying right now.
Hurricane Milton's sustained winds may have come down just a little in the latest advisory, but its dangers are numerous. There have already been tornadoes, and that is an increasing danger everyone needs to stay aware of. Hurricane Milton will make landfall in Florida late tonight or possibly in the early AM hours of Thursday, but there are so many threats preceding landfall. Hurricane and tropical storm warnings are covering Florida as conditions continue to deteriorate. We are hoping everyone got their preparations done and have followed evacuation orders. Big damaging storm surge is expected along the west central Florida coast. And remember, the ground is already wet. And with more rain from Hurricane Milton, flash flooding is expected. Localized rain totals of 6 to 12 inches expected with up to 18 inches possible. Several tornadoes are likely over parts of central and southern Florida.
What's up, Dale?
Here are three things
What's up, Slim?
about Hurricane Milton. First off, Milton is a very dangerous major hurricane. It may weaken a little bit before making landfall, but that minor change will not lessen the impacts expected across the state of Florida. Second thing is that Milton's wind field is expected to increase in size, thus impacting more people. Right now, tropical storm force winds extend more than 200 miles in width. The wind field will grow about 100 miles as it moves northeast and approaches Florida. Wind damage will be widespread and power outages are likely. Last thing is that Milton will continue to wobble before making landfall, and storm surge is highly dependent on landfall location. If Milton makes landfall near or just north of Tampa, this is the worst case scenario for the city, as water will rush in and pile up, potentially reaching 10 to 15 feet above the ground. However, if Milton makes landfall south of Tampa, surge will be much lower for the city. It may even result in water being pushed out of the bay with winds blowing in from the northeast.
Yeah, but the surge all the way to the south of the storm is going to be really bad. We're going to take a look at some maps here. Maybe we can get some call-ins. Who in the room right now is staying through the storm in that area, and where do you live? I live in Central Carolina, still reeling from Helene, says Ford. Let's see. Government of slavery is in St. Augustine, Florida. Captain Nobody says this is insane. I'm in Spring Hill. I'll be all right. I'm at a higher altitude. What's the highest altitude in Florida? Last I checked, I think it's 345 feet is the tallest geographical location. We're going to look at some. We'll look at what here. The storm surge is already coming in. Let me show you this from the Naples Pier sunset cam. I'm going to pull I'll show you where Naples is. Here's Naples right there. So Naples is here. Tampa's all the way up here to the north. Here's Spring Hill. So here's Tampa right here, St. Petersburg, Sarasota. Longboat Key is going to be one of the cameras that they're going to be looking at. I'll try to stay on top of this as much as I can. I'm not a weatherman, but the storm surge has significantly come in, and there are still a lot of surfers. If you can see right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this guy's about to go into the water with the surfboard. So there's still 5 or 6 surfers on this side of the pier, maybe even more, 7 or 8. There were a lot of surfers in the water about 10 minutes ago, and then the surge just started coming up. Let me show you the difference in the storm surge, what it was and what it is now. This camera view, let me get the full thing in view. Here's the Naples Pier sunset cam. This is what it looked like at 8:19 a.m. Florida time. This right here in the left pane, left top is Inglewood Beach cam. Fort Myers cam is the bottom left. And the skyline, Tampa skyline cam in the lower right. But I want to show you, notice how calm the Naples Pier water is at 8:19. And then we're going to just advance it a little bit. Here's 9:09. Water started coming in, and the surfers started getting excited because they were getting out there. I was watching the surfers go into the water to ride the waves. This is 9:56 a.m. This is 10:37 a.m. The Naples sunset cam. Got a lot of surfers in the water then. That's 10:55. You notice the surge is really starting. That's 11:19 Florida time. Here's the Inglewood Beach cam. Now you got the surge going in. Things are getting conditions are getting wet, rainy, and current conditions right now in Naples, Florida. What I'll do is I'll drop a link later on. Hey, thanks, Iron Man. Iron Man Metal just dropped a super chat. Rest in peace, Mike Morales. He's the best weather predictor. Yeah, I miss that guy. I miss that guy. Only had a chance to talk to him a couple times, and he basically succumbed to the cancer that was eating him up. Into Thin Air is a good channel. Yes, he is. We might look at. I'm glad you said that. Let me. I don't know about his channel, but I do know about his presence on X. Let's see. Into Thin Air. Major Hurricane Milton update. I've never seen a hurricane like this in my life. No one has. Full video breakdown in the works. They were talking about how this is going to be a record-breaking hurricane. Florida Stadium prepares for a major hurricane. Let's see. This is Florida Stadium. Got a lot of cots set up. I would like to, when I drop the link for it's just a little bit of back and forth and get some man on the ground stuff. I'd like for the people who call in to be the people who actually stayed and are going to be hit by that storm. But matter of fact, put a 1 in the room right now. What's up, Jeff? Bill's here. Dale. Central Florida Police is here. Put a 1 in the room if you are in the area that is going to be directly or close to directly impacted by that storm. Let's go back to the cameras. Again, this is Naples, Florida. Naples, Fort Myers. Naples is down here south of Fort Myers. We got Longboat Key. Longboat Key is one of the cameras we're going to be looking at. Longboat Key is just south of Tampa Bay. We're also going to be looking at some, let's look at some traffic cameras in the area. Yesterday, this is the traffic camera. Wow, they got some water going on there. This is the old Tampa Bay. Let's look at a camera on the bridge. I wish we could control these cameras, but I guess you can't, because if 1,000 people were controlling the camera, nobody'd be able to control the camera. Playing tennis at 50 is in direct line of sight. Jeff Ross is in Wesley Chapel. Let's go to Wesley Chapel. Oh yeah, Wesley Chapel is just northeast of Tampa. What's up, Brick? Okay, what I'll do is I will let me drop the invite link. I would like for whoever's going to be responding to this link to be the people that are going to be staying during the storm in the affected areas. There's the link right there. That is your StreamYard link. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We're going to try to make this as interactive as possible. And I'll be another station that said that we could simulcast is Ryan Hall. He's pretty good at staying up on stuff, so we'll go to that. I actually like watching his stuff. Okay, where is his? There it is.
Why is there such a long? Is that a CC drop?
No,
We're
that's
just
not
seeing
him.
that. It might be a tornado, and it hasn't.
Here we go. Stream starting soon. Okay, so he is not streaming right now. Let's go back to this last one. See what else the Weather Channel's got. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. Thanks, Al Biatch. Appreciate it. Oh, your family's north of Tampa? Ryan's good about that, but insists that we are all crazy for talking about. Oh, really? Huh. That's crazy that he would inject his opinion about that when there's so much information out there about that subject and so many admissions that have been made by the government.
Hurricane Milton's sustained winds
Let's
in
just go
southern
to the
Florida.
next one.
Here are 3 things out of the bay. Hurricane Milton is a powerful Category 4 hurricane moving northeast, setting its eye on Florida. Milton is forecast to make landfall as a major hurricane anywhere between Clearwater and Port Charlotte late Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. Most of the state of Florida is under a hurricane warning or tropical storm warning, as Milton will likely maintain its hurricane status as it crosses the state with an expanding wind field. Time is running out to prepare as tropical storm force winds could arrive as early as Wednesday afternoon as Milton's rain bands start impacting the state. Heavy rain will lead to flash flooding and river flooding with the highest flood risk extending from Daytona Beach down to Orlando and Tampa, where a widespread 6 to 12 inches of rain will be possible with isolated totals as high as 18 inches. Milton, one of the
Landing south of Tampa Bay would be better for Tampa Bay, but not so good for the people in the south. Apparently, if you're getting the winds coming from the ocean, you're going to have a greater storm surge and greater possibility of damage. So if it travels north of Tampa, Tampa's going to get slammed hard. If it hits south of Tampa, Tampa will not get slammed as much, but everybody south of that eye wall is going to get hit pretty bad. I'm in Orlando, rainy but calm now. That's from FitzCam. Take a look at all the tankers sitting still in the ocean off the coast. Funny spray coming from them. I've been in many storms. This one is bad, especially with the previous damage. Are you down there, Brick? I know you said your family's down there, but are you down there? Let's go to, let's see, since Ryan Hall is not on live, there's Inglewood. There's a live cam. There's a live shot of Inglewood, California. Again, Inglewood's down here, way south of St. Petersburg and Tampa, north of Fort Myers. So the Inglewood cam is somewhere around here. It is getting choppy. It is getting choppy. It's raining hard, but the wind hasn't picked up yet, says Playing. What's up, Aaron Health? Let's look at some more of these cameras here in Tampa. Let's go just south of Tampa. Let's go. Well, I want to get close to the bay. This is a live shot of a camera near the bridge, near the Tampa Bay Bridge. US 19 to I-275 on the ramp. Boy, that'd be cool if we could turn these cameras around. Images are neither stored nor recorded. I don't believe that for a second. Let's look at a camera on the pier. That's a live shot. The camera's shaking pretty good. All right, let's find out exactly where this thing is. See what Biden
This
said.
morning, I'm canceling my trip to.
Oh no, we're embarrassed.
As you know, I put out a statement this morning. I'm canceling my trip to Germany and Africa. We're going to try to work those out later, but I just don't think I can be out of the country at this time. Number one. Number two, we're going to stay focused on what's ahead of us right now. I've been briefed by the senior leaders of this administration and who are driving our preparedness for Hurricane Milton, which could be one of the worst storms in 100
to
years.
the sidewalk
Florida.
after that hurricane,
And,
now we're dealing with an even more powerful
Helene.
storm that is headed
I've
straight
directed
our
this
way.
team to do
So
everything
they're
it can.
asking people to, if you haven't left already, please leave. They're also asking people, especially folks who live on the boats, to go ahead and get to safety. They have expanded shelters in Pinellas County. They have added more shelters. They say that they know that enough people aren't there. We talked to emergency management officials this morning, and they're begging people to come inland. They say you don't have to go to Georgia, you don't have to go to Alabama, South Carolina to get safety from this storm. You just need to move inland. So if you are in these mandatory evacuation zones, you need to get that way. We have seen a couple people out here, a lot of them just making those last few minute preparations before they head out, but some of them trying to ride out the storm. They are begging you not to do that, not to play around with this storm. There's all kind of debris out here, not just the boats. Anything could be blowing around. So even if you're trying to be a looky-loo, they have asked you not to do that. You don't want to step outside during this storm trying to get your TikTok video or something that'll make you go viral. Your life is not worth that. We're about to get out of here soon because the wind gusts are picking up and it's not going to be safe.
You know
for us
people are
much
going to
longer.
do that.
In Gulfport, Miranda Parnell, 10 Tampa Bay.
This is a live
Her
feed
point
right here.
Officials have been saying for some time now, stay out the way.
Yeah, that's right. And we want to get another check in Sarasota, where the barrier islands have been closed, access to them. You'll find police at the entrance to the John Ringley Causeway and all the other areas that you can find access to the beach, as people are not allowed to get in. But if you're trying to get out, that is
I'm just going to mute this. This is the hurricane crew, hurricane hunters flying into the hurricane to collect data. I don't know if you've watched any of these videos, but it's pretty interesting how they fly over the storm and then into the eye.
Pretty good. I'm gonna grab my phone real quick. Yeah. Well.
Hope you stay safe, Bernie.
It's on. Oh, crap. All right. Good God. All right. Thanks. When you get a chance, you grab my wallet too. Thanks. You gotta get these pockets zipped. Wow.
And we're starting to see a whole lot of that. Warnings are out here south of Highlands County right now. We've got some rotation off of Hudson, although that is moving more to the northwest, just barely. So I think most of that will stay just off the coast. Let's get in here just a little bit
Matt?
more
What's
because
up, Eddie?
basically the warnings now are all right along our southern area here. So there's Lake Placid. There's the cell that we're watching. I think this actually ends up just to the east of Lake Placid. Great news there. But you can see we've got the second cell that's down here, still not in Highlands County. We'll start tracking that when it gets closer, but that one's going to be closer to that 27, I think that is, and then right into Lake Placid. So that's the one more that we want to watch. Looking at what we call the velocity, this shows us that spin in the atmosphere, the reason why the warning. You can see the one that we've been tracking here east of Lake Placid is not looking as impressive, but the one that's a little bit further to the south really does. You can pick it out yourself right there. You see that? These colors right in here, that blue and then that red, that's showing the rotations just going just like this. All right, so there's 27. 27 comes up here, then kind of goes to the north and the west and goes right into Lake Placid. This is a half an hour away from Lake Placid, okay? At least this particular cell. Let's come back out here. Here's the center. The hurricane force winds, they go out 35 miles from the center. All right, not terrible. But that will actually spread out a little bit. So that swath of wind is going to be probably about 40 miles or so as it comes on shore later tonight. You can see I put the center track in. Again, I don't really like doing that, but
yeah, maybe we can get John to call in from, maybe we'll call John. Maybe we can call him. He lives in Sarasota? Oh, he lives near Tampa. Yeah, so if you guys if anybody lives in the area and they're going to ride out the storm, let's talk. There's the StreamYard link.
Out to the north here, but we're at the point now where the wind should start picking up throughout the day today, and we'll start seeing those gusts easily. Well, we've already seen some in the 40s, but easily start seeing gusts in the 40s with sustained winds in the 20s and the 30s, and then just increasing as we go through the evening hours. So let's go back out real fast to our tornado warnings. I want to kind of sum those up for you, and then we'll get back to the news. But we've got the main one in Highlands County now, just getting ready to cross into the county border, but it's right here. Okay, that's it. This is going to go, I think, even east of Sunvale.
All right, we're going to mute this, keep that live. This is live right now coming from St. Petersburg.
To the actual crane arm itself. It could fall, it could fly. I mean, right. All of those are possible without knowing the conditions.
Okay, and was there anything you can say yesterday on the cranes or mitigation or anything like that? It's still status quo?
It's still the same status. We're comfortable for all the cranes up to 100 miles per hour. After winds reach a level of more than 100 miles per hour sustained, we do have some concerns, but nothing has changed as far as the status of the cranes.
Feel free to call in Central Florida. Anybody who's in Florida who may even get touched by this, if you want to.
All right, thank you.
Just kind of give us your perspective.
Please stay safe.
No pressure. You don't have to.
So that is the conclusion of the St. Petersburg official update right there, as they are.
Feet. You're flying higher than that when you're flying on most passenger airlines. All right, summertime thunderstorms that we get here in the Tampa Bay area in Central and South Florida were around 47,000 feet. They can get even bigger than that. That is more of a thunderstorm.
I don't doubt that they do that net, but I don't think that there's a lot of people in Eastern Tennessee and North Carolina that think that anything was over exaggerated. If you've seen any of those man on the ground videos. And I don't so much trust the reporting, any reporting coming out of Fake Stream, CIA, Infiltrated Operation Mockingbird, MK Ultra Media, but there are a lot of people. There are some people that I know, for example, Shane Hazel, who's gone up there, and places are just absolutely, Asheville is just wiped out.
Winds are on the northwest side and then right here on the north side. We can't see the southwest side just yet on radar. It'll be a couple hours before we really get a better picture of that. But we do see that we've got obviously the highest storms around the center, and we expect that. Let's go out here. Bigger picture as far as talking about flood watches and warnings. The green that you see here, these are all river flood warnings that are occurring right now, the rivers that have been running high. What you want to focus on, too, is this red that's here. This is a flood watch for everybody. That means...
What's a fake sign language interpreter? I don't get that. That's the first I've heard of that.
It looks like the center line of the storm, And then wherever it goes to the north, we'll see the most rain. And we're already seeing that. You can see Tampa, Pasco, Hernando. This will be the heaviest rain, essentially, for parts of Sarasota County. We're getting it right now, some thunderstorms as well. And then this batch, as it drifts northward, has a decent chance of producing tornadoes. So if you're in eastern Manatee, Lakewood Ranch, Duet.
This look with you. Take a look at this. This is a look of a confirmed tornado from Broward County. This tornado made its way across I-75. Broward County, if you're not familiar, is in southern Florida. That's near Miami. And we're going to see it zoom. Look at just how powerful and intense this tornado is, those dark clouds right there. So not only is there a hurricane, there are tornado threats to.
I don't know who Cletus McFarlane is. Sounds like a lot of people do. I'm not familiar with that person.
If you do receive that alert, make sure that you stay safe inside an interior part of your home right there.
Look at that beautiful
I also
tornado.
wanted to share this look with you. This is a live
Look at that beauty.
look from Anna Maria Island, and we've been sharing this look with you. I've been sticking with this particular view because I wanted to almost give you that time-lapse view of what conditions are looking like over the course of these few hours right here as I'm with you here on Live Now from Fox. We've actually seen conditions calm down just a little bit in the last 30 minutes or so. It was almost whiteout conditions a short time ago. It does appear as though the wind and the rain have let up just a little bit, but already you can see those rain droplets coming horizontally. And that
Oh, he's a car YouTuber.
winds are already. You could also see the waves really reaching up to that walkway right there, that pier, as we continue to monitor these live looks. We are going to be joined at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, so in just about 10 minutes or so, with Florida's Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Nunez, as she gives us the very latest information about Florida's efforts ahead of Hurricane Milton. And also, this is a very unique situation as many communities are still recovering from Hurricane Helene. We're going to have that live conversation with her at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. We're also anticipating to hear from President Biden and Vice President Harris as they are getting a briefing about Hurricane Milton preps. We did have a live look from inside the White House that has since been taken down. That was expected to happen at noon p.m. Eastern time, so it's unclear as to what's causing that delay, but we are also monitoring that situation for you. So a lot to get to. We're going to step away for a 2-minute break. I'm Stephanie Quinu. We'll be right back.
Goodbye, Stephanie. All right, so we got the Naples sunset cam, the Naples Pier sunset cam. I've been on that pier. Anybody been on that Naples Pier? It's 12:20 California or Florida time, and the surge is really coming in now. The water had stopped. The beach was right there. Now the water's come up to that part of the beach, and I don't see.
Introducing Hallmark Plus.
I don't see any surfers on the beach. I see these guys standing in the foreground, but I don't see any surfers in the water now. See if you can see them. There were tons of surfers not 15, 20 minutes ago riding some of these waves. Yeah, storm surge would be kind of scary. Lived in Naples 11 years ago. Been on that pier many times. Nice place. Probably one of the richest towns per capita in the country. Fitz lived in Naples. The pier is still damaged from Ian. I do have premium, but it's on my. I'm logged into my Disturbing Illusion channel, and I've got premium on my Here's the Deal channel. I'm not going to get premium on both. So, yeah, unfortunately, ads are going to come up every now and then. This is a live look.
And in that press conference, they were also talking about how people could be without power for days. So imagine being stuck in your home and just waiting for someone to rescue you. You might lose power on your phone, might not be able to call for help. So that's why they have several shelters open this time. Yesterday, there were about 300 people at the shelter. During the update today, they said that they had more than 490 people, and there's still more people showing up. But as the weather starts to get worse, they want people to start coming now. People should already be at the shelters as of noon. That's what they were trying to tell people, to get hunker down or go to the shelters by noon today. They've already shut down some resources. The sandbag locations stopped operations around 10 a.m. and they're still transporting people to the shelters, but they say that's only going to be for just a little bit longer as the weather permits. They're hoping people are getting on the roads right now and heading either out of town or to their shelters. Live in Pine Island, Angelicia Bruton, 10 Tampa Bay.
Situation where the ground is already saturated from Helene. Less than 2 weeks later, we're dealing with yet another storm, and now the high winds. The debris that you saw on the way to that space right there looks more like a salvage yard, I would imagine.
Saturated streets, though, are already taking on a lot of water, and there is a fear that even without storm surge, there could be flooding. Hillsborough County Fire Rescue tells me that they have received last night 4 utility vehicles that they will use to help people with water rescues.
The storm, it's going to be impactful. It's going to create a lot of anxiety, a lot of damage to our community. But Hillsborough County Fire Rescue stands ready. We have 12 tactical search and rescue teams. We have 8 rapid needs assessment teams, and we brought in 2 shifts to serve the citizens.
And just,
Man, what if this storm, instead of being slowed down by cooler weather coming from, what is it, the northeast, it intensified with warmer weather coming up from the southwest? What if it turned into something bigger than a Category 5? That would be just crazy, man. I hope that doesn't happen for you guys. I really hope this thing slows down. In a sense, we're kind of all helping them out, though. Gimmick. It's almost like if you want to be on the internet, you're going to be helping somebody out that you really would rather not help out. X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google. It's like, how many of us have Googled things? When we Google things, we help them.
Wedge tornadoes that look like we get in the plains rather than with a tropical system. So we are currently under a tornado warning for Highlands County. And I just kind of wanted to show you a wide view first. This is the eye of Milton. So this is certainly associated with it. You can see those rain bands wrapping around that kind of feed into the storm. And embedded in some of those rain bands, we do have, unfortunately, some tornadoes.
I thought hurricanes were affected by the warm water underneath and the temperature of the air above.
Firm tornadoes on the ground and now north into Highlands County. This is getting very close to Lake Placid. It's actually just to the east of Lake Placid. Here's another one coming out of Charlotte and Lee County. It's a tornado warning that the National Hurricane Center has just recently started giving.
Yeah, I don't doubt that,
designation
Joe.
That this is a confirmed tornado on the ground, either seen by someone or.
I don't doubt that. We know what technology they say they have. We know about Operation Popeye. We know about all the articles that were written. We know the Nixon administration was trying to hide it. There's so much that we know, but the question is, and then we have, the weather is a force multiplier coming out from the Navy and just using it as a warfare type of technique. But the question is, how do you prove the steering? What's their base of operations? Is there some kind of underground bunker they're working from with all these monitors on the side of the wall like you see on movies? How do you prove that is exactly what is happening? There are some interesting videos. Into Thin Air puts them out. Mike Morales used to cover it. There are some really crazy things going on. How do you conclusively prove, like if you were going to be an attorney in a court of law, how would you compile your case to show this is exactly what happened? I'm proving exactly what happened, and here's who did it. Here's where the signal came from. Here's who is operating the control mechanism for that.
Scary for all of us. We already knew that there was a major hurricane making landfall. This is now an added threat that we're getting with this storm. So Highlands County, east of Lake Placid. I'll go a little bit farther in to see if we can pick up on some streets for you, because again, places like so State Road 70, also known as Main Street. So it's north of that. It's
Here's Lake Placid, there's Holmes Avenue, there's Highland Avenue. So this area south of Womble Avenue, Womble Road there, will go down south from there. So
Florida has in place ahead of the storm, but also in the recovery efforts. What does that support look like?
Yeah, well, we spare no expense in making sure we help people prepare for a storm.
Exactly,
major
Mark.
storm like Helene, of course, and now Milton. But then
Hey, they're on
also as
target
we
for
start
owning the weather.
tedious task of rebuilding and helping people with the recovery. So the governor has just done a phenomenal job making sure we have all of the personnel, all of the assets staged. So once the storm passes, very quickly we get to work. And so what we do is we have search and rescue, number one priority, preservation of life, assisting those that perhaps are trapped, and then helping with the rebuilding, clearing debris, clearing roadways, inspecting bridges, making sure it's safe. Again, standing water, people sometimes want to drive through it. We caution people to really be extra cautious as it relates to standing water. We're going to see in some areas 15 feet of storm surge. That is catastrophic. That is life altering. And again, we want people to seek shelter. If you are in a position where you can go to your county's shelter, you don't have to travel hundreds of miles. You can just go tens of miles to go to one of the county-run shelters. And the state has also, in addition, done additional sites and shelters for people that are looking for refuge.
Lieutenant Governor, this is such a unique situation in that Hurricane Milton will first make landfall along the west coast of Florida, but then trek its way through central Florida and then finally exit on the east coast of Florida, which is unusual.
Yeah, that's right.
How does that, if at all, change the strategy with Florida's agencies, as this is such a huge path for a storm?
Yeah, it's a huge storm and it's going to impact a great portion of our state. That's why the governor put 51 counties under state of emergency, recognizing the size and scope of the storm and, of course, the intensity. And so when you see it cutting across I-4, which is a heavily populated area of our state, we do have assets located strategically all throughout the state. And as I mentioned, search and rescue, which is our number one priority post-storm, those teams are ready to go. I believe we have an excess of 26 teams. And so they will be deployed very quickly and efficiently to the areas most impacted. The Division of Emergency Management has their contingency plans in place. They know based on their modeling where the tremendous amount of damage, the most damage is going to likely occur. So they are ready to deploy once the storm has gone by. And oftentimes, if you saw during Helene, first responders, emergency personnel, they were going out just hours after and really
Yeah, so while this is going on in the background, let's just go and refresh and remind everybody. Maybe you don't even know it. Maybe there's some new people on board that, roll their eyes and think that you're crazy if you talk about, the modification of what people call weather. This is an abstract this is from the Defense Technical Information Center, the DTIC, and it's called Weather as a Force Multiplier. This is .mil, which is a military organization. In 2025, U.S. aerospace forces can own the weather they say. And when was this written? This was written in 1996, July 1st, 1996. They're saying almost 30 years before 2025, 1 year shy of 30 years. They're saying we're going to own the weather by 2025. They said that. I didn't say that. Weather as a force multiplier. So they want to multiply the force of regular munitions and bombs, whether it's the atom bomb or the missile or whatever. They want to multiply the force that they have by commandeering and controlling WEATHER. The U.S. aerospace forces can own the weather, they say, by capitalizing on emerging technologies and focusing development of those technologies to war fighting applications. That's what they say. That's not what I'm saying. So for somebody to roll their eyes at you and say that you're half-cocked, it's like, hey, the information I'm downloading to you right now in verbal form, or the link that I just sent you over electronic form, didn't come from me. I'm not making this up. I'm not fabricating this. I'm not crazy. Isn't it crazy how they gaslight you and call you crazy when all you did was brought forth a government issued document? Such a capability offers the war fighter tools to shape the battle space in ways never before possible. This is from the Defense Technical Information Center at dtic.mil. Here, I'll drop the link. You can read it for yourself. Brian, you're crazy. You're just a Looney Tunes. And that link is also for any YouTube screener. Look at the 1896 Rainmakers. Yeah, I mean, this technology is out there. They say it's out there. They admit to it. You got stuff like this right here. They name them. And I'm just going to go to a top shelf authoritative source. Look, there's Wikipedia, and I'm saying that facetiously. When I say top shelf authoritative source, I'm just talking about those sources of information that are approved by even Google, even Facebook. But this right here is Popular Sciences. You can't get more mainstream than that. They said with Operation Popeye, the U.S. government made weather an instrument of war. And we're talking about back in this article was written in 2018, but we're talking about technology that they used back in, what was it, or the 1970s with Vietnam. As geoengineering project SOAR, the declassified project, is newly relevant. And I mean, I'll read some of this. But it says it was a seasonably chilly afternoon in 1974 when Senators Claiborne Pell and Democrat from Rhode Island and Clifford Chase, a Republican from New Jersey, strode into the chambers of the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations for a classified briefing. While the meeting was labeled top secret, the topic at hand was rather mundane. They were there to discuss the weather. Hey, did you talk about the weather today? More specifically, Pell, the chairman of the now defunct Subcommittee for Oceans and International Environment, and his colleague were about to learn the true extent of a secret 5-year-old cloud seeding operation meant to lengthen the monsoon season in Vietnam, destabilize the enemy, and allow the United States to win the war. And there was a whole lot of lies, deception, and intrigue that surrounded this. It says, though it cycled through several different names in history, Operation Popeye stuck. Its stated objective to ensure Americans won the Vietnam War was never realized, but the revelation that the U.S. government played God with weather-altering warfare changed history. The Nixon administration distracted, denied, and it seems outright lied to Congress. You don't say. No way. No administration would do that. But enterprising reporters published damning stories about rain being used as a weapon, and the Pentagon Papers dripped classified details like artificial rain. Eventually, the federal government would declassify its Popeye documents, and international laws aimed at preventing similar projects would be on the books. And it just talks about this whole thing about how they did it, what they did, what the outcome was, the advantage that it gave to U.S. troops so they could use weather as a force multiplier. I'll give you here. I'll drop the link to this. This is the Operation Popeye from Popular Science magazine. This is weather as a force multiplier from DTIC. There it is right there. You guys can read all about it as we track this storm.
Here's Avery. So we're at Sun Lake High School right now. This is in Lando Lakes as the rain and the wind starts to pick up.
Hopefully,
you can see people.
If Ryan Hall rejects that, maybe he can watch this video, or we can snip it and you could show it to him if he denies those kinds of things exist. Now, to what extent do they control the weather? I'm not sure. I don't know. I've watched a lot of videos. I've done a lot of research on it. I am by no means even close to being an expert, but I do know that when power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
To a couple from Newport Richey who lives in Zone A, and they say they stayed during Helene and ended up with 3.5 feet of water inside.
Isn't it crazy that it's a dangerous thing to talk about something that even Wikipedia has on their frickin' Wikipedia page? I mean, Wikipedia is valuable to an extent, but you got to be real careful when you pick out stuff. You got to do your research. You got to cross-reference, and sometimes it's lazy. You get lazy because look, they have so much right here. But look at the resources. Look at the references. It says Operation Popeye. This is a top shelf authoritative source. This is the information shelf that you'll probably see under this video when it gets done rendering. It's placed there by YouTube from Wikipedia. It says Operation Popeye, Project Controlled Weather Popeye is what it was called. Motor Pool, Intermediary Compatriot was a military cloud seeding project carried out by the U.S. Air Force during the Vietnam War, 1967 to 1972. The highly classified program attempted to extend the monsoon season over specific areas of the Ho Chi Minh Trail to disrupt North Vietnamese military supplies by softening road surfaces and causing landslides. That is Wikipedia saying that the United States government back then, 50 years ago, was doing stuff with the weather that is pretty scary and sobering.
Momentarily, as those are the notes from President Biden. So we've seen a lot of movement. I'm going to stay on this live look right here as we continue to monitor this, as I do expect President Biden to really show up any moment now to receive that briefing. But as we do so, I also wanted to share this look with you. This is a live look of Hurricane Milton as it continues to churn out there. And I did want to share the very latest. If you're just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, Hurricane Milton is currently a Category 4 hurricane. Early this morning, it was a Category 5 hurricane, actually re-strengthened.
Yeah, I haven't forgotten about Hawaii, Timothy. It's just like there's so many things going on. It's easy to not deal with something when other things are going on as well. That's still just a horrible situation for people in Lahaina right now and other parts of Hawaii.
But Category 3.
That not only Hawaii, the Hawaii situation, it's not that it was bad. It was bad, but it continues to be bad. There's still people suffering the devastating effects of that fire.
No exaggeration, a life or death situation. That is why millions of Floridians are currently under a mandatory or voluntary evacuation, particularly in those low-lying areas along the west coast of Florida, as a storm surge could be up to 15 feet. That will produce catastrophic loss of life.
That will
We're
suck.
also anticipating some localized rainfall totals.
Guys, I really
15
hope you don't get storm surges like that. I really hope you don't.
Are saying if you live in one of these areas, you will get water in your home. Your home will be flooded. So they're urging everyone to continue to evacuate as quickly as possible. And then, of course, the wind damage. We do see President Biden now making his way to the table. So what we're going to do is we're going to raise the audio and listen in, as we do expect to hear this briefing on Hurricane Milton and Hurricane Helene. And we do see that they are getting situated right there. I'm going to raise the
Mama Lion, are you up there in the places in Florida that are about to get hit? Oh, is this Biden getting ready to speak? Look at him. He's at his little desk. They cut the
You'll see those things fill up
Oh, there it
quickly.
is.
And then you'll notice once the storm moves by overnight tonight, tomorrow, that'll start.
Wait, they muted this right here for some reason.
So it doesn't appear as though we have audio just yet. It does seem like they've turned off the microphone as they are giving some instructions in terms of where President Biden should look. It does appear as though they're indicating which camera angle he should take a look at right here. So you can see those final preparations. It does look.
Where are you, Mama Lion? What part of Florida? I'm also going to drop a link if anybody who's in there that wants to stay wants to tell us about what they see and what's going on. There's the, oh, wait a second. That's not the link. The invite link. Here is the invite link right there. It's the StreamYard.com link.
So it does look like President Biden is getting some last-minute instructions in terms of preparation. We don't have any audio. Oh, look, it does.
All the world's a stage here. Look at this.
National Hurricane Center is part of this panel right here. And it does look like they are about to get underway as we were, we've been speaking with Michael Brennan on and off for a number of days now, as he is the director of the National Hurricane Center, giving the very latest information. We also see, I believe, Homeland Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is also part of this panel. And you can see that the camera is now trying to focus in on President Biden. There was no audio.
Less than 14 hours, Hurricane Milton will make landfall on the western coast of Florida. Winds will be fierce at well over 100 miles per hour, with storm surges reaching up to 15 feet, up to 18 inches of rain. It's looking like the storm of the century. I'm here with leaders of my administration who are in the front lines preparing for this storm, and will brief me in our latest efforts. To save lives and livelihoods, I want to emphasize a few things. First, many communities in Hurricane Milton's path do not have a moment to catch their breath between Helene and Milton. 2 historic storms in 2 weeks. I want to thank everyone who has followed local guidance to evacuate ahead of landfall. I know it's really tough leaving behind your home, your belongings, everything you own. But I urge everyone in Hurricane Milton's path to follow all safety instructions as we head to the next 24 hours. It's literally a matter of life and death. Second, for the last week, my team has done everything possible to prepare for this storm. I immediately approved emergency declarations in Florida and the Seminole Tribe in Florida. I also surged search and rescue teams, water, food, power generators, ambulances to the region. In my direction, Administrator Criswell will be in the State Emergency Operations Center in Florida tonight. And Kamala and I are going to keep pressure on the companies so prices stay stable on gasoline.
Oh, God.
And goods people need.
Oh, God.
Finally, we're teaming up with state and local officials to support impacted communities. I spoke with the Florida governor.
In other words, we're gonna interfere with the free market, Kamala and I.
The Tampa mayor, the Clearwater mayor, Rector, and the Pinellas County chairwoman, Peters. I offer them everything we need, everything we have, everything they need. And I made it clear to them they should reach out if there's anything more they need. I gave them my personal phone number here at the White House to contact me directly if that's necessary. Let me close with this. I want to thank the governors, all the affected.
Close. He just opened.
Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Virginia. We've been in constant contact, and they've been very thankful and appreciative of the help the federal government is providing. And I'm appreciative of all they're doing as well. I've told them to contact me with anything else they need. We have made available an unprecedented number of assets to deal with this crisis. We're going to continue to do so until the job is done. But now I want to be clear about something. For the last few weeks, there's been a reckless, irresponsible, and relentless promotion of disinformation and outright lies.
Oh, here we go.
Disturbing people. It's undermining confidence in the incredible rescue and recovery work that has already been taken and will continue to be taken. And it's harmful to those who need help the most. There's simply no place for this to happen. Former President Trump has led the onslaught of lies. Assertions have been made that property is being confiscated.
He can't keep Trump off his lips.
It's simply not true. They're saying people impacted by these storms will receive $750 in cash and no more.
Did you hear that, boys and girls? The government is very concerned about you being the subject and the target of misinformation. They want to set the record straight because they always tell the truth.
Simply not true. They're saying the money is needed for this crisis is being diverted to migrants. What a ridiculous thing to say. It's not true. Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, a congresswoman of Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous. It's got to stop. Moments like this, there are no red or blue states.
Yeah.
There's one United States of
on,
America
man.
where neighbors are helping neighbors. Volunteers and first responders are risking everything, including their own lives, to help their fellow Americans. State, local, and federal officials are standing side by side. Let me repeat, no one should make the American people question whether their governments will be making sure that this is acting on strikes. They'll be there.
What the hell is
All of us. I'm going to turn it over to Vice President Harris, if that's okay with all of you. Thank you. Madam Vice President.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Oh, God.
And Liz, thank you for the work that you have been doing. As the president said,
Liz Cheney?
prepare for Hurricane Milton and to ensure that people are safe, including ensuring federal, state, and local resources are being coordinated in a smart and efficient and effective way. We have also been in constant contact with the leaders in Florida to make sure that we are cutting any red tape that might get in the way of getting relief to folks, to make sure also that communities receive the resources and the support that they need as quickly as possible. Already, we have
Look at
sent
Joe
more than
going,
1,000 federal personnel
Can I go?
to be on the ground
Can I
in
go back to
Florida
bed now?
assist with what needs to happen in the state to prepare for this hurricane, and we will continue to scale up those efforts. To the people of Florida, and in particular, the people of the Tampa region, we urge you to take this storm seriously. As has been said before,
God, that would be so great if they all lost their voices.
historic proportion. And many of you, I know, are tough and you've ridden out these hurricanes before. This one's going to be different. And so we ask you that by every measure, understand it's going to be more dangerous, more deadly, and more catastrophic. So please listen to your local officials. They know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. And if you are told to evacuate, please evacuate immediately. Do not wait until it is too late. And in the hours and days ahead, President Biden and I and our administration will continue to do everything we can to protect the people who have been in the path of this storm. And once the storm has passed, we will be there to help folks recover and rebuild, as we continue to do for those communities in Florida, Georgia,
At no cost to you.
who have been devastated by Hurricane Helene. Finally, as the president mentioned, to any company that or
Here we go.
individual that might use this crisis to exploit people who are desperate for help through illegal fraud or price gouging, whether it be at the
It's like the government doesn't do that already. Now, we don't want anybody price gouging. We don't want anybody out there taking advantage of other people. That's our job, and we want to eliminate that competition. So don't you dare price gouge, because that's what we do.
gas pump, the airport, or the hotel counter, know that we are monitoring these behaviors and the situation on the ground very closely.
Shut
and
up.
anyone taking advantage of consumers will be held accountable.
We will, in other words, we are going to interfere like we always do. We're going to interfere with the free market and make sure that there's no price hiking and price gouging. Doggone it.
The bottom line is this hurricane poses an extreme danger, and we urge everyone in Florida to take extreme caution. And we are with you, and we will get through this together. And with that, I will hand it over to Homeland Security Advisor Liz Sherwood-Randall.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Mr. President,
Oh, that's the Liz that they were talking about, not Cheney.
on the list
Cheney's been stumping for her, though.
for Hurricane Milton and actions that we have taken to prepare for it and be ready to respond to it. You'll hear from Administrator of FEMA, Deanne Criswell, the Director
I love that her bracelet is dragging the desk and the mic is picking it up, man. It's like, stop moving your left hand, Liz.
of Homeland Security, Ali Mayorkas, and the Commandant of the Coast Guard, Admiral Linda Fagan. We'll begin the briefing with Administrator Criswell. Over to you, Deanne.
Thank you, Liz. Mr. President, Madam Vice President, I just want to assure you we are taking this storm very seriously. As you will hear from Dr. Brennan shortly, Milton is currently a Category 4.
Biden's like, pretend to pay attention, pretend to pay attention. I almost looked at my watch. I better not do that. They'll take a picture of me. Oh my God, what's in my pocket? Oh, I'm going to grab my pen out of my pocket.
met at the state EOC to meet with my team as well as our state partners, and I will be there to
Jack
assess
Wagon
the
Joe.
damages and the impacts immediately following the storm, working in close coordination with the state to ensure that they have everything that they need to support their priorities. As you have always directed me to do, I am leaning forward to make sure that we are strategically placing our resources and our teams to be able to rapidly respond in Florida. There are currently over 1,000 federal
Everybody's reading
personnel
these
on the ground
scripts.
in
Oh,
Florida
God.
supporting the efforts from
Oh,
Hurricane
God.
Helene, as well as the previous storms that have happened over.
God, let's just look at a live shot. The people who are really working on this thing, the weathermen. Yep, there's still surfers in the water in Naples. I don't see any surfers in Inglewood Beach. Fort Myers is starting to get a lot of rain. And Sandy Cay Beach Cam. Let's see, I'll show you where Sandy Cay is. Sandy Cay. Oops. No, that's not it. Stop. Sandy Cay Beach is in Long. Let's see. See if I can just find it. Wisco, thank you. Storm on the Doppler radar is moving north toward North Carolina again. It's not following the projected path. We'll look at that. We'll look at that. It's in Sandy Cay Beaches and Longboat Key. Longboat Key, Florida. So when we're looking at that camera, we're looking at it from this perspective right here. There's Longboat Key, which is just, I think, south of Tampa. Yeah, south of Tampa, south of St. Petersburg, Longboat Key. So when we're looking at that camera right here in the lower right-hand corner, that's what we're looking at. So that would be the closest cam on this whole thing right here, because Naples is way south, Inglewood is way south, Fort Myers is way south, and Sandy Cay Beach is just south of Tampa. And it does look like the waves are picking up pretty considerably. I don't see any surfers on Longboat Key or Sandy Cay Beach. So live Doppler radar of Milton. Let's see. We'll go back to these boring people, these boring liars.
Into tomorrow. And what messaging can we do to help people in the hours before it makes landfall?
Mr. President, the biggest concern is making sure people have gotten out of harm's way. Over the next 24 hours, we are going to see significant winds. We are going to see storm surge. We are going to see flooding from the rain. People need to be able to take this storm seriously. They need to move, if they still have time to move, out of harm's way. And we are prepared to support Florida with additional search and rescue assets to help save lives. That's our immediate concern, Mr. President.
You guys can check out Aaron in the Radar Mega app. He has damage. I'm not able to show him, but check him out in the app. Apparently, there's major structural damage.
All right.
Well, NATOcast has come out with a stunning outlook for today.
A new tornado warning has been issued.
NATOcast, look at the bottom right of your screen. NATOcast has now again, NATOcast is an experimental tool. It's not an official forecast, but they have a 45% tornado risk in place across central and eastern Florida, back over just south and east of Orlando. So if that doesn't tell you much about today, I don't know what will. Today's environment obviously is extremely favorable for tornadoes. We have 10 tornado warnings right now. Like, I can't even fathom how we even have that many right now, but there is just a lot of rotation. Literally, with any supercell out there, every single one of them are rotating. Even if one's not warned, like there's a ton of tornado warnings rotating, or tornadic supercells rotating right now. We have another tornado warning now for Lake Placid, Sebring, and Avon Park. So if you're in this tornado warning, you also need to seek shelter away from windows and on the lowest floor possible.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true what Bill just said. Bill Bradley just said Trump is also a banker puppet. I don't understand what people don't get about that. Red flag laws, the extreme risk protection orders, red flag gun confiscation laws is anti-Second Amendment. I don't know, Mike. I like take the guns first, due process second. I'm sick of even doing it in his voice because it's just so ridiculous. I don't know, Mike. I like what you're saying, but we could do the same thing, but I like take the guns first, due process second. That's not how it's supposed to work, Donald. But he knows that. Considering, would you vote for the person who considers the CEO of BlackRock to be the Treasury Secretary? I need to go. As soon as we had some major bad stuff happen to our house, so we got to get it fixed. As soon as I get that fixed, me and Trish are going out on the road, and we are going to be talking to people. Hopefully we can do this before November 5th. It's already October 9th. This whole thing is just dragging out like crazy, but I want to get out there and ask Trump supporters, hey, can you believe that Kamala Harris is actually considering the CEO of BlackRock to be the Treasury Secretary? What do you think about that? And then just let them talk about BlackRock. They're the enemy of the people. Oh, I'm sorry. That wasn't Kamala Harris who wants to make Larry Fink the Treasury Secretary. That's Donald Trump who wants to do that. Now, what do you think about that? Oh, well, Trump does it. He must be playing 5D chess. Give me a freaking break, man. There's so many things. There's a list of so many things. I was thinking about making a video of this right here. These are just some of the things that I wrote down in my open office about the things that Trump has been up to, the things that the proof that he's against all Americans. Red flag confiscation law, civil asset forfeiture. You know what that is? That is legalized road piracy and theft in the name of fighting the Mexican drug cartels. And they're not forfeiting, and they're not apprehending the property of the drug cartel for the most part. It's innocent Americans who happen to have more cash than they think you should have aboard your vehicle or in your house. Oh, we suspect that this might be used for illicit drug sales. So we're going to go ahead and take your house. We're going to take your car. We're going to take everything you've got, all your property. Trump recorded a higher rate. Thank you, Don Anderson. That's very humbling. This is for all the hard work you do. Jeez, I don't even know what to say about that. That's crazy. Thank you, Don. Thank you to everybody who's been supporting this channel and the Here's the Deal channel. More military expenditures for the military industrial complex recorded under Trump in 4 years than was ever done by Obama in 8. That is not your friend. That's not, come on, it's not 5D chess. Trump is doing things that you don't understand, Brian. You don't get it. You're not in the inner sanctum. He had to fill the swamp so he could drain the swamp. Give me a freaking break. $6.2 trillion theft of Americans with one freaking signature. One signature. Yeah, exactly, Mercedes. Exactly. Yeah, that's what he is. He's a chump, just like Kamala Harris is. And you know what's funny? You have to. We live in a day and age where perception is everything, and unfortunately. And because of that, if you say something against Trump, then it clicks in everybody's propagandized minds. You're automatically for Biden and Harris. You're for Harris and Walls. If you say something, that means you're going to vote. You commie, you're voting for Kamala Harris. No, I'm just telling you the truth about Donald Trump. It's the truth that you don't want to hear. $6.2 trillion theft from Americans under the first stimulus package in 2020. What the frick? It was supposed to be 2.2 trillion. They hiked it up to 6.2 trillion. 4 trillion evaporated right off the top. Where did it go? Because it didn't go in the pockets of Americans. And even if it did, even if you got your $1,400 stimulus or whatever they gave you, you know that's going to cost you, right? There are no free lunches. When the government gives you something, if they're big enough to give you what you want, they're big enough to take everything you've got. That, whether you took it or not, it's going to reflect itself in higher prices. I did a mathematical breakdown of just how much it would cost you in the first year by taking a year. Was it 16 months, 18 months? I can't remember. It was either a year or 18 months that it's going to cost you to accept that $1,400. It ends up costing each and every American who is issued a $1,400 check, whether you received it or not, it's going to cost you an additional $1,400 over 18 months or 24 months or whatever it was. I did a video on it, but it's no longer available because my channel has been axed. He wants federal police qualified immunity. He wants indemnity. You can't hold them to the account that you would be held to. They can't be prosecuted for criminal acts if they do it in uniform. That's what federal indemnity of all police forces are. He wants federalized qualified, a blanket of qualified immunity in addition to the qualified immunity that they already have, including for evil cops, which name a cop that isn't. That's your homework for the night. Criminalize hundreds of thousands of Americans with a bump stock ban. How many Americans possess that piece of plastic and then once Trump said there's a bump stock ban in place, he criminalized all those Americans, which means in the eyes of the state, you are now automatic criminals thanks to Trump. Because he hates the Second Amendment. So you and I see this and it's like, hey, it's as plain as the nose on your face. He hates the Second Amendment. Red flag laws. I like take the guns first, due process second. Bump stock bans. He's obviously anti-Second Amendment as Kamala Harris, who, by the way, also wants she wants bump stock bans. She wants AK-47s and AR-15s to be criminalized, and she wants red flag laws. There's no fundamental difference between the policies of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. They want to continue trashing the value of the dollar by printing more money because they're Keynesians.
Screen that looks like a lowering, or at least the storm itself.
Anyway, that's basically, we'll come back to this guy as he tracks the storm, but this is basically my outline for another video. I'm going to try to make a succinct video where we talk about, okay, here's the proof of why I think, why I know that Trump is just as much a bankster puppet as Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Obama and the Bushes and Clinton and all those people. $8.4 trillion in national debt in 4 years. Some say that doesn't even count the $6.2 trillion outright theft with one signature with the stimulus plan. So, I got civil asset forfeiture on there twice, don't I? Yeah, pushing 5. You know what? This right here. I'm not going to say this on a live stream. Oh, he wants you, if you express your right as an American to burn the corporate flag, which is what it symbolizes. It's just symbolizing a corporation. It symbolizes the military-industrial complex. If you decide to go ahead and exercise your freedom of speech, which the Supreme Court already said you have the freedom of speech to do that. Duh, we already knew that. We didn't need the Supreme Court, the black robe tyrants of the Supreme Court to tell us that. But Trump says if you burn, ironically, a Chinese-made American flag, you get an automatic 12 months in jail. Tell me that's not a tyrant. Give me a break. I'm burning my own fabric on my own property that I bought with my own money, and you're going to throw me into a cage, or an RAPE cage for 12 months? That's tyranny. And censorship, yep.
Get photos or video, we'll let you know. We'll at least retweet it on Twitter. If not, we'll show it on stream. If you guys do see any damaged photos or video on Twitter, please at me at MaxVelocityWX.
There's the StreamYard link if you guys want to come on board and weigh in on what you're seeing on the ground.
$100 super chat. Put some W's in the chat for Eyeball. Riding it out in Naples. Thank you for reporting. Stay safe. Hopefully this tornado threat starts to wind down a little bit. The worst of the outer bands now moving inland. I think we're going to get another outer band ring going later this afternoon. So like this might be the first of multiple rounds of.
We'll come back to him. I know Ryan Hall doesn't mind repurposing his content, but I don't know. This is the first I've heard of Max Velocity Severe Weather Center. Okay, so here's what's going on right now in Naples and Inglewood, Florida. And right down here, lower left, Fort Myers looks pretty calm. And Longboat Key, Florida. Bigger storm surge waves coming in. There's no audio on this, I don't think. No, there's no audio. Appreciate you guys being here. Oh, they're still talking over here? What are they talking about?
Rain from the inland area. So that could really be add some challenges to some communities with the flooding and recovery efforts, as some of the roads will be pretty impassable. So, you know, I was looking at this, Mr. President, Madam Vice President. Yesterday I said the clock was ticking. Today I'm saying the alarm bell's going off. People really need to start getting into their safe place. And as always, the Weather Service remains on duty 24/7 to make sure the decision makers have all the information they need and the updates to this storm.
Ken, I'd like to focus on one thing you said. I don't think most people would think it, but you know, the idea that sometimes it takes days for rivers to crest after a major storm like this. Are there any particular areas of concern that that are related to this type of flooding? And how long do you think the flooding conditions could last? In other words, I think people think once the winds are died down and have gotten through that, okay, we're all set. But these rivers flooding are consequential, and it takes time, right?
It takes time. That storm surge pushes up every nook and cranny of Florida. So it goes up bays, goes up rivers, it fills in all these areas. And then you add that incredible amount of rainfall, and that rain can't drain because the storm surge has it blocked. So just really looking at some of the areas in Hillsborough River, Alafaya River, the Peace River, some of these type of traditional places that could flood, we really got to watch those areas and those communities. So it takes quite a while for that water to drain.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Ken, I have a question for you. You mentioned words matter, and I know there's a lot of media following this briefing. So there have been, we've gone from a Cat 5 to a Cat 4, and the language that a lot of folks have been using is downgrade. But it sounds like you're cautioning us that may communicate a sense that the danger is lessened when in fact it's not. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know a lot of folks are watching right now and would love to have your feedback on how we should be talking about this.
Yeah, we need everybody that communicates to the public to be on the same page with the words, because I've 30 years of doing this. I've seen this so many times. People will think, oh, it was a Cat 5, now it's a Cat 3. That's not a reason to relax. It's not weakened. That's not diminished. That means that we've expanded the wind field. The impacts don't change associated with that. And I've seen this in Hurricane Florence and other historic hurricanes. So we have to be mindful of the words that we use and focus on those impacts. Those impacts haven't changed no matter what the wind speed does over the next 24 hours.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Graham. We'll go now to Secretary Mayorkas, the Secretary of Homeland Security. Ali, over to you.
Thank you very much, Liz. Mr. President, Madam Vice President, if I can just pick up on the important phrase, the words matter. I want to thank you for the strength and moral clarity with which you have been speaking to back down false information that is being spread. That false information is only...
Mayorkas just had the gall to say that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have strength and moral clarity. What a frickin' joke.
President, we are executing on your directive to not only rely on FEMA to provide emergency relief, but to draw upon other resources throughout the Department of Homeland Security and throughout the federal government, throughout your administration. I know you will hear from the Commandant of the United States.
Hey, what's good, Brian? Good to be back on the show. Love you, man. Love everybody. God bless all the freedom fighters, you know, all the patriots out there. And, you know, I'm here in San Antonio enjoying the beautiful sun, and all these people are in a path of bad storms, and they're recovering North Carolina, Tennessee, all them people, you know, and it just breaks my heart that there's, you know, a lot of people that want to help but can't because, you know, of whatever situations they're in. And my heart, I'm a veteran, you know, I'm a wounded vet, and, you know, I there's really nothing I can do but pray and send my well wishes and stuff like that. But I have a voice and I have an opinion, and I'm going to express it. You know, I'm sick and tired of sitting back in the sidelines and just watching everything go. I'm 54 years old. I've seen the world, been there, done that. And it's just a joke. You know, how are these storms every year? Every year there's hurricane season. It keeps the same paths. It's storms that come from Africa across the ocean into the Gulf, and then they make turns, and it's always hitting the same areas. You know, you hardly see any hurricanes on the other side of the oceans and hitting the United States. You know, that's very rare. So when we talk about weather manipulations and conspiracies and things like that, you know, I don't consider conspiracies. I consider it a conspiracy theory. I consider it conspiracy reality, because this shit's happening. You know, and all these people are dying and suffering for what? Because people with money want control. People with money want to rule us. You know, I that's not what I signed up for when I joined the military. You know, and when I worked for DHS, you know, that's not what I did it for. You know, I wanted to serve the public as a public service. There's an honor in that. You know, somewhere the honor is gone. You know, now it's just I'm looking out for myself and passing the buck. That's how everything's working these days, and it sucks, man.
No, I know what you're talking about, and I know people get sick of me quoting it, but Samuel Adams says a general dissolution of principles and morals will more surely overthrow the liberties of America than all the force of the common enemy. And then he says, while the people are virtuous, they cannot be subdued. I think it's key that the powers that shouldn't be want us to be demoralized and dehumanized and lose our virtue through the voting process and all this other nonsense. And that's how we get defeated. We don't just get defeated because we got deceived because we believe some bad message about the government. We got deceived because we ourselves started working for the government by supporting psychopathic tyrants.
That's true. And then we've been doing it for so many generations that everyone is stuck in some type of Stockholm syndrome. You know, I love that term because, you know, everybody's like brainwashed and hypnotized. And, you know, this is how I feel about voting. I think voting is a fraud. I mean, come on, let's imagine generations ago, you know, many moons ago, many years ago, there were some rich people and they wanted to control the people, and they came up with an idea and said, hey, let's invent this thing where everyone can cast in who they want to rule over them, and then we'll make them believe that they have a choice. But secretly at the same time, we're only going to give them the choices they can have. We're going to make them believe that they can vote for their leaders. And then on top of that, we're going to instill into their brains that if you don't vote, you don't have a say-so. Mm-hmm. And it's your patriotic duty to do so. It's so convincing. I think voting is the most genius fraud ever invented. Because, come on, man, we got Kamala and they have Trump. I'm in America too, so this is affecting me. We got Trump and Kamala, two losers, two puppets. I mean, they're all puppets. Yep. Why don't we have anyone else? Tell me it's not a fraud. Tell me voting isn't a fraud if there's not more than just two candidates.
Yeah, and you know what's
sad?
my
speech is a little.
No, it's okay. You know what's sad? It's a clear puppet show, and even the people that you can rightly call shills on either side of the fence, left or the right, say that the RNC and DNC are corporately controlled, and yet they continue to support the person that's supported by the DNC or the RNC, left or right.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. I mean, when I decided to give up voting, and then I had people tell me, "Well, you don't have a say-so in politics," and I'm like, "What?" I'm like, I'm a free American. I'm a human being. I have a say-so in everything. You can't shut me down, shut my voice down because I don't get in line and be complacent and like everyone else. Bullshit. I'm not about that. I'm. Like I said, you know what, man? I joined the military. I was 35 years old. Okay. And my aspect of the military was totally different from what it was really when I got in. No honor, people running over each other. Leadership was just crap, and then they sent me down to Iraq. And, I did what I had to do. I saved some lives. I got shot for it. I came back and, now I'm supposedly sitting on a pincushion, just collecting everything. Man, I'm on such a strict budget right now. I can just barely cope with the bills. And it sucks that because I don't want to be on the taxpayer's dime. I want to do my own thing, and be free from that. And at the same time, do I have a voice? Do I have the right to speak up? Because, I'm a veteran and I'm collecting a check, from the taxpayers. That still makes me feel bad, because of that. Everyone says, oh, well, you deserve it because you're a veteran. I'm like, look, me being a veteran, Brian, honestly, does not make me a better person than anyone else. Okay, I'm not higher than anyone else in this world because I went and I served. I did that on my own. Okay, I didn't do it for medals. I didn't do it for glory. I just went out and did it because I got tired of seeing these young kids were getting killed, and I thought maybe I could go do something about it, and I achieved that goal.
Hey, I don't know, Ovis, I don't know if you see on the screen, Winter's Folly said, gave up your say when you don't vote. Voting is your say. Do you have a response to that?
No, it's not. No, voting is not your say. Voting to me is your handcuffs. Okay? If you have a say, you can get out, you can call your representative. If I worked in politics. I'm originally from Chicago. I worked with, we helped get Luis Gutierrez, the first Puerto Rican congressman in the Congress. I was on that Democratic side. I seen the ins and outs from the Windy City. Come on, man. The most corrupt city in the whole of all the United States. Okay, don't get me wrong. There's New York, California. Chicago is the most corrupt. And I know this politics. I know the way it works. I was there. We were taking in immigrants back then. This is in the 90s, okay? Back in the mid 90s, we were taking immigrants back then and helping them apply for citizenship. At the same time, giving them a voter's registration card application and telling them who to vote. I didn't know anything about that. I was a young man coming out. I was trying to get my clout, my political clout, so that I can get into law enforcement or whatever. It never happened. It was just a life lesson that I learned, and I use this knowledge now to say, you know what, politics is a joke. It's slavery. It's peaceful slavery, and I don't want to be a part of it. And because I don't vote, I don't have a say. Nah, man, that's bullshit. You have a say. Everyone has a say. You have a voice. You have a human life. As long as you got breath in your lungs and it's affecting you, you have a say. You don't have to vote.
I totally get the angle you're coming from, but this person says, gave up your say when you don't vote. Voting is your say. I agree. Voting is your say, but it's your consent to be ruled by the most dastardly psychopaths you can possibly imagine. So I get totally what you're saying, but you don't give anything up when you vote. Actually, you do give up something when you do vote. You give up your humanity, you give up your morality, and you give up your rights. Because even if the president or the candidate, whether Harris or Biden or Donald Trump or whoever, even if they said all the right things, when they get into office, they're going to do the opposite things of what they say. And every bomb they drop was by your consent. Every dollar they devalue was through your consent. But if you don't vote and they devalue the dollar, well, they didn't do it with your say and with your consent.
Let me ask for that guy, Winter's Folly. I appreciate your comment, but you know what? Anybody, tell me when in history, okay, has there been a president of the United States that wasn't a puppet? Okay? That hasn't been being pulled, their strings pulled by the Federal Reserve or other people who are really in charge of this America.org, the corporation. It's sad.
Hey,
I can't remember.
Ovis, I'm going to give Life Under the Mic a chance to talk. What's up, Life?
Hey now, what's up, Bri? How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you. Listen, I love what you do. I love what you do, and you probably don't even know it, but I was one of those proponents. I didn't like a lot of the things you had to say early on, because again, indifference is what separates us. But we all got a common goal, and you're right on par with what a lot of people should be saying, and it's sad that they're not. I think that there needs to be a platform where we all can be heard.
What was one of the major sticking points early on for you? Uh-oh, you went mute. You're muted. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I can't hear you, Life. You must have pushed a button on your phone or something. Hey, Ovis, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm good. I read you 505.
Okay. Let me bring Brick Jonesy in here. What's up, Brick?
What's up, brother, man? How you doing today?
Good. Are you in Florida now?
Can you hear me? No, I'm not in Florida. Yeah, like I said, I got family all over Florida. I got friends all over Florida. Yeah, this is a really bad one. It's going to be nasty. There's a lot of damage that's already been done. Most of my family is between, it's like right there in what we call the armpit of Florida. So, that's literally the target zone. I got some family in Jacksonville, some friends in Jacksonville, so that's pretty far over. But like that whole area, there's not going to be any boats on the coast anymore. The rivers are going to be high. It's going to go out, it's going to be like a swamp. And it's not going to drain for, maybe a month. It's going to be nasty. So.
Yeah, hey, just to let everybody know, when I drop the link to the StreamYard thing and you guys come on, if I don't know you, like I know Brick, we've talked a lot in the past, but his image doesn't appear on the screen. If I see you in the back, backstage, and I don't see your face, I'm not going to bring you forward, because that last guy just basically wanted to get my channel taken down. So let me add Life Under the Mic. Did you get your mic fixed?
I think we're good, bro. Sorry about that.
Okay,
Dealing with a
no,
lot
go
of
ahead.
technology issues right now.
Yeah.
But,
What was one of the sticking points for you earlier on?
the only thing that bothered me, honestly, and from seeing it from so many angles, so many people, the only thing that bothered me was not understanding the YouTube game and how people, the monetary part. But we don't have sponsors. Like you don't have freaking Toro tires or something on your back, so there's no way to know, how is this guy going to get money? You got to live. I understand that. I'm all about that. I understand it now, but being a cog in the wheel, you just see some of these people and the things they have to repeat. You're not repeating the things people are saying, and for a reason. You're repeating the sticking points that should stick, instead of the stuff that just hits the wall, falls down, flops around, and we move on. And this is a bigger issue, because, like our buddy up there just said, he joined the military when he was 35. Man, I joined when I was 17 actually, signed in. And the only reason was because what was I handed? The illusion. The illusion is the part that hurts us more. The illusion of free thought, free press, and exposing that's the only goal. Because after a certain point in life, you get to saying, what's the answers and what are you going to find? A handful of people that got nothing to say. So I'm just happy that I found you at High Impact Flicks when I did. I didn't just let it go and leave you by the wayside. I've been following you forever and for a reason. And I'm going to stick with you for as long as it takes, because, we need to follow like-minded. When we always hear magnetism, they talk about, opposites attract. Nowhere in nature does that happen. And that is why we're in this problem right now, because nature's fighting back the only way it knows how, the simplest way. And we don't recognize that because we're so far from truth.
Yeah, and at the risk of sounding completely just repetitive, I think that there are a couple things that we can agree on. And if we truly agree on the things that I'm about to say in our hearts, I think we can correct a lot of garbage in the world. Number one is, whether you're religious or not, there is a golden rule: do to others what you would want done to you. The only exceptions to that is either you're insane or you're lying, because nobody wants to be harmed. It's like, yeah, I hope people harm me today. I hope my value is devalued. My dollar is devalued today, so I have to work 3 jobs instead of 1. If we can all agree, do to others what you would want done to you. Conversely, don't do to others what you don't want done to you. And the second thing is it ever right to initiate unjust force and violence on peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong? The answer is no. It's never right, because the people who do that are rightly called criminals. So if we can agree to those 2 things, people will stop voting, because it's like, I know Trump wants to harm me. He's already proven it in his first term. I know Kamala wants to harm me. She's already proven it as the vice president of Biden. Biden wants to harm me. The bankers don't want me to live, obviously. So I think if we can agree, I think if we have a starting point, then from there we can work out our disagreements. It's like, whatever you do, whatever you say, I don't want to harm you. I don't want to force you into silence by laying censorship on you. I don't want to take your guns away. Automatics, fine. You want a tank in your yard? If you can afford an Apache helicopter, it says shall not be infringed. You know what I mean? So I just trust that if we can go by those simple rules of life, if you want to call them just the moral code, I think we can be a great, prosperous society. Hey, what's up, Mr. Concerned Slave? What's that? What's that, Mike?
Could you see?
Life under the mic, would you say?
Oh, sorry, I'm a mic too. So yeah, the focus isn't there. Again, what really matters? These political people, they're going to flip flop every 4 to 6 years. That's just the way it's built into it because of the name polar. Polarization. Yeah. We got both sides of, again, we boil it all down. I boiled it down, man. I almost died years ago. My kid almost died. My wife almost died. It's tough living this life. And with all the answers that we are provided, the books change every year. I've gone through textbooks my entire life. I was one of those, wanted to know everything, Well, I started finding, hey, how come the answer keeps changing? We all know the sky is blue, right? Why is it purple? And you look up the answer. We get these answers that are provided on cliff notes, cliff card notes for life. And it's just, we pull them out like we know it, like the back of our hand. But we don't know shit. The stuff that we do, we could get on the same page about, and this is a huge one. Like I sent you a link earlier on the channel, or whatever, an article to look up. I think it was during Hurricane Irene. The curvilinear dome homes in Florida, one house out of like a sea of homes that became toothpicks. The Weather Channel was there; they documented it. If anything, that should be like played for everybody in Florida. Hey, if you're in a zone where this is happening, Bahamas, St. Vincent, if you're going to have a hurricane, what do you want to hunker you down? A box that's free floating in the air, because when that water or that wind hits that wall, it's taking it with it. Everything in that path is traveling along. We build our water channels to where water can't flow the way it naturally flows in curvilinear flows. Dude, we're on a spiraling system here. Everything about me, the colic on top of my head, the fingerprint, the way my vision sees through rods and cones, my blood itself, every atom is in a spiral formation because we're all following the sun, churning around, baby. And, we lose sight, again, the simplest things. If we boil it down to the basics and work our way out from there, we now have a primer of understanding and we don't get lost in translation.
Totally agree, man. I'm going to bring up.
I agree with him too.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Mr. Concerned Slave, how you doing?
Good, thank you, Brian. Man, I've been following you for a long time. Your work on the police, really great.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
So, I would recommend anyone watch the movie The Jones Plantation if you really want to understand this matrix, but more so the mechanics. It's very important to understand, especially the media. You have to read between every single line in the media. I mean, they are propaganda. Even when they're reporting on deaths, it's not really reporting on deaths. I've heard numbers well into the thousands, and I think the media is only reporting maybe 500, but still that's like an incredible amount of deaths. And you look at the people who are the broadcasters, they have no vested interest in their audience, none. So take that to the bank, who these people are and what they're there to do to you. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say. I suppose I could talk a long time, but I'll turn it over to someone else.
No, I appreciate it, man. I just pulled up while you were talking. I pulled up the Jones Plantation. We can watch the trailer right now. It says, we all live on the Jones Plantation. You can control a man with brute violence, but you can never truly own a man until he's convinced that your word is law and obedience is virtue. That is our problem, is we imagine that there's something called authority and that people have the right to rule us. Let's watch some of this trailer.
Control a man you can control a man for a period with brute violence, but you cannot truly own a man unless he thinks your word is law, that he must obey, and is virtuous for doing so.
We are losing money. A little more every month that goes by with no end in sight. They can sense weakness, and they are gonna smell blood like a gator to chum. They're gonna kill us both.
Mr. Scott said this man is a miracle worker. I think he can help us.
You're Nick. Good people, My name is Mr. Smith. As of this very moment, you are now all free. Free at last.
Now we are all in this together.
This plantation will run on equality. I have created something called Jones Plantation Credits.
We're gonna keep them up to their ears in debt.
Jimmy Jack will now be in charge of our new security team to protect this plantation and to serve all of you. You two are gonna have a little contest to see who can win the hearts and minds of the human livestock out there.
Vote Jones!
Most people are weak-minded to wield the real power. You must be willing to do what most consider unthinkable.
What most people consider to be unthinkable is that men like you even exist.
That's our greatest advantage. As free people, we work together for mutual benefits, living our love and loyalty to the plantation.
We are not free. I ain't no slave.
They have tricked you into thinking that choosing your own master is the same as being free. You offer them a truth that they don't want. They want to feel safe.
There's a dark thing going on this plantation.
Every man deserves freedom, but freedom isn't free.
It's just crazy to me that it's 2024 and we still believe in the concept called authority. Let me bring let's see, Cesario's in here. Let's see. What's up, Cesario? How you doing?
How you guys doing? Thank you for having me on again. I want to know if anybody here knows about the Project Phoenix 2.0.
No.
Okay, well, basically, this is the same thing that happened in Ohio a couple years ago, where they had a movie about it, and then months later, it happened in real life. This is the same thing. Project Phoenix 2.0 tells us everything that's going to happen, and everything, then even the dates, October 9, 10, 11, whatever, even those dates are the same. And it's a movie they made. You can look it up. I just looked it up last night, and this is all man-made.
When you say they, who made the movie?
I don't know who made the movie, but you can look it up right now. It's Project Phoenix 2.0. It talks about a hurricane sweeping through Tampa and blah blah blah. It's everything we're seeing right now. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
That's it. That's it right there.
Yeah. So fake, man. You know, this is a selection year, so they need to have a hero. Just like Albert Pike said, if you provide a hero, if the people need a hero, well, we're going to provide one. So in a selection year, we have to have all these things happen. So then, in the end, they can say, "Do you see when destruction happened at the last hurricane, Helene, which is hell, the hurricane hell, and this one right here was? You see how we went to help and how good we did? That's why you need to vote for us. It's just garbage. All this is man-made."
Do you have any idea when this was put out?
Yeah, just recently. You can look it up. It tells you when it just recently got put out.
Did this happen prior to Helene?
This video, I think, did. I think
it did.
I think so.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll look it up. Let me see. Let me bring Joshua, who's been waiting in the background for a while. What's up, Joshua?
Hey guys, brother, I want to say that I've been watching your channel for a while now, and you have definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things. Before watching your channel, I wanted to be a police officer myself. I volunteered in Palm Beach, Florida, as a police explorer, and it came time for me to go ahead and apply for the academy, and I started looking into the Constitution. I started looking into the Second Amendment, and I said, man, I cannot violate people's rights. I cannot violate I cannot take a person's gun from them just because the government said that they're convicted felons. And as I dug into it, I realized that everybody who fought in the Civil War, or not the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, um, against the British would have been seen as convicted felons. And so I wanted to say that you have definitely helped me a lot. And also, you've helped my family because I've been able to help them with dealing with law enforcement and knowing their rights and not incriminating themselves. You know, even something simple as a car accident, you know, can, you know, there's a lot of questions being asked during that time.
Yeah, yeah, things can go south really quick, even in the most mundane encounters with law enforcement. You're right.
Yeah. I know there's a lot going on right now, but I would like to ask that perhaps you can look at Palm Beach Gardens Police Department in West Palm Beach, Florida. I've had quite the dealings with them myself, but I could send you some really crazy videos from them that I think you, and not to put you on the spot, brother. I don't mean to do that, but I can send you some really crazy videos dealing with my encounters with them. And then I think Lackluster picked up a story of God getting guns drawn on him and stuff like that, and just really, really, like, you know, showing their tyranny. But what happened to me happened first, and it's just crazy how nothing was done, and then here comes another victim. I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm not here to promote myself, but yeah, that's all I have to say, brother. Thank you.
I would definitely like to talk to you about it on my Here's the Deal channel, which is exclusively for police accountability. But I will look up Palm Beach Gardens, and if you could send me an email to the link to the Lackluster video where they covered that, and if you want to send me some videos and just kind of detail what happened to you, I want to listen. I want to hear it.
Okay, and I can send you videos from my encounters with them. I think it's story worthy.
Okay, sounds good,
Thank you,
Joshua.
sir.
Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you. Hey, Cesario, were you still saying something? Was there something else you wanted to say?
Just I mean, you don't have to show the video now, but just like that plantation one, that's a good one. I never heard of it. I'm glad I'm here on this call because I don't know everything. I only know what I know, and I want to know as much as I can so I can navigate myself through this matrix myself. Thank you.
Yeah, but by the way, this Jones plantation was put out by, I don't remember if Larkin Rose wrote the script, but he is in it. I'm not sure who actually produced this whole thing, but there was a lot of people contributed it to getting it done. And then one of the other guys that I know in it is this guy right here. He's one of the plantation owners. This is, he goes by Lee Gallman or Legal Man on X. Really, really good guy. He thinks like we think. He just wants to be free. He wants to be left alone, exposing the government and all that stuff. So, let's see. Ovis, did you want to say something else?
Yeah, about that trailer that we just watched. I don't know if you guys caught that, but one of the characters in there was complaining about how they're trying to convince you to choose your ruler.
Right.
And that's exactly my point. You know, the big invention of voting from when I mean, look, if you even Google when was voting invented, it doesn't give you an exact date. It doesn't give you an exact answer. It just explains what voting is, and it gives you all those different definitions of that. But when was voting first invented, and who invented it? You know, I'm thinking it's just a couple of people who wanted to get people, the populace in line, like sheep, and they want to herd the sheep, you know, and get them to do their bidding, and at the same time brainwash us to convince us that it's our American duty to choose our rulers.
Yeah.
And if we don't choose our rulers, we don't have a say-so in the whole category. You know,
Exactly.
which you know, I mean, I'm done. I haven't voted in years, and you know, I mean, look at this whole thing. I mean, when was there ever and it is a selection time. It's not election. I agree with that. It's selection time.
Yep.
When was there ever a selection that didn't have any problems with it? That it was smooth as silk. That we got a person in charge, person and a representative elected, selected with no issues, no cheating. You know, this last one was just crazy. You know, they just kept people out. You know, why do you know? And in today's modern technology, we have microorganisms, all this advanced space stuff. Not one person can invent a voting machine that will count, store, and all while being transparent votes. You know. What happens when you vote? It gets collected, and then the people in charge of the election take it to wherever they got to go to submit the count. You know, and it's all under police guard and all this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, where's the machine? You know, and then there's machines these days that are are corrupt. They put in the wrong computer error or whatever it is. But my point is, you know, all the tech that we have, and there's still not one type of device, you know, to prove voting is legit. That's my point.
Yeah, even beyond that, let's say voting was legit. The people who you're voting for aren't. So they make this big to do about, you know, the Diebold election machines and, you know, taking Fox News to court and winning $780 million. And we got to make sure the votes are right. They're under lock and key. They're under guard. It's like, yeah, but that's all well and good. But if the people that you're voting for are owned by the same team owners, all this doesn't even matter. So it's like they go through this great length to make it all look super legitimate, and none of it is.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think it's a joke. There's nobody else other than Kamala and Trump. Come on, give me a break. You know, where's the blue collar person? Where are the blue collar people at? You know, the ones who suffer the most are going to be, you know, people like my family. We're middle class. You know, we're barely paying our bills. You know, being able to have my kids go to school and have a few groceries, you know, and there's a lot of people out there who are much worse off, you know, and
Well,
it just
people ask,
my heart just gets crushed, man.
Yeah, people ask all the time, what's the solution to all this? Well, number one, the solution is to do the right thing and be the right person, be a good moral person, live by those codes we were talking about, do to others what you want done to you. The second thing is, if you want to really lay the axe to the root of the tree and chop down the tree of evil, then you have to institute a sound money system. As soon as you institute a sound money system, you no longer can pay $174,000 a year for senators and congressmen. The base senator and congressman is making $174. That's $83 an hour. Are you making $83 an hour? I'm not making $83 an hour. So as soon as we institute a sound money system, there's no war. There's no more funding for war. There's no more funding for the military industrial complex. There's no more funding, $250 million for a presidential campaign. Where'd all that money come from? How is that even possible? When money starts being worth something, you actually put your nation on a trajectory of major prosperity and weeding out all of the corrupt people who are going to take advantage of this unsound money. Because basically, if you give corrupt officials charge over the printing press, how can you expect things not to go wrong? You're insane if you expect things to go right.
Yeah. That's like, oh man, I'm broke today. Hold on, let me turn on my printing press. Let me print up some 20s.
Yeah.
Just print me up a couple mil. That's it.
Yeah.
And then,
which literally steals the value of your time and labor and my time and labor. So basically what every political parasite is saying, and they are parasitic because they're feeding off the rest of us. Basically what they're saying when they devalue our dollar is, I don't value your labor and I don't value your time. And your labor and your time in this world is all you really got. All you got is the time you have left and the labor you exert to supply for your family and yourself.
Hey, and on top of all that, the money that they do make, they give it away. It doesn't, you know, $750 to these poor people who are devastated. That's a spit in the face, man. That's like, hey, bend over and I'm gonna give it to you really raw. Oh, here's $75. Enjoy it. What's
Right.
$750 going to do? It's not going to do nothing. You know, get them have them get a week's of supply of water, a week's supply of toilet paper, maybe some type of food. And $750 is not going to take care of families in a month. That's a joke. And then she comes out all proud and saying that, and that's just part of the game, man. Making one side look better than the other. I don't watch a lot of TV, right? So I'm get real quick. And so I was watching my wife was watching TV and I saw a commercial for a political campaign commercial, and they're bashing down on Trump. And I was just like, man, the hypocrisy that they're showing. They're talking how good this Democratic Party is, and it's the brainwashing is so intense. It was just outrageous to me. I was just like, man, I read through it like looking at through water. It's so easy for me to understand the hypocrisy because I've been there, I've lived it, I've done it myself, and it's just once you have that experience, it's just hard to hide it.
Yeah, the insult to injury on that $750, like Bill Bradley has rightly pointed out, is it's a loan. You are going to pay for that. You're going to pay that back and then some with some major interest.
Oh,
I like what Base Chad said. He said, "Power is crack. Power is like crack. Don't put crack at the center of your society." Hilarious.
Yeah,
and sad and true. Brick, what you got?
What's up, man? Sorry, I was hearing nothing but robots, so I appreciate you letting me back up. Yeah, man. I was going to speak a little bit on the storm. I mentioned that my family's all throughout Florida. I got friends there. A lot of them are literally in the target area. The last storm that came through was the same. That like east of Tallahassee, that area. Family, friends. And there's going to be flooding. There's going to be a lot of downed trees. The trees in Florida are pretty tough, but there's still going to be a lot of damage. The soil is it's very arid. The water drains off pretty well, but it's still going to flood really, really bad.
I got a practical question for you for your family who lives there. Did they try to make it out, or are they hunkering down and staying put?
Yeah, they're hunkering down, man, and they're crazy. One particular set on my family is in Cedar Key, but it's like 10 miles in. So where they're at, it won't be. It'll flood. There probably won't be. Maybe some might come in the back door of that particular house, but it's a pretty big house, and she's been through it so many times, and they've been through it so many times. They've got generators, they've got the ability to get through it. There's a few folks that I'm sure will probably hunker down in the house as well. It's a pretty big spot where she's at. But I told my sister, I said, you need to tell them to get out because this one's like really bad. But they'll get through it. There's a lot of people who will do exactly that, who will hunker down because they have a decent place to be. But one of the things about Florida is that it gets hit so often that a lot of the homes are not homes, they're trailers. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of living in a place like Florida or Louisiana. There's a lot of trailer homes, and it's just the reality of just the place that you live. You have to deal with the place that you live at. Florida man is wild because Florida man has to deal with wild things, including the tyrannical government. And so I think they're wild for sticking around. There's places they can go, but you do have to get out and go and drive away from everything you know and own. And it's very scary. That alone is very scary. But I don't think that that's quite as scary as having to live through another nasty storm. This is massive. This is huge. Like I said, there's a lot of damage from before, and it's going to be a lot of flooding. It's going to be a lot of wind damage, particularly the quote unquote armpit there. There's not a whole lot of quote unquote shelters. Like they're saying, get to a shelter, get to a shelter. Well, you have to drive like, 100 miles in, to get, like Gainesville is probably the closest decent shelter and decent city, other than, going like all the way across the state. And then if you go all the way across the state, the people, like when you're transferring your whole family across the state like that, you got to go somewhere. And then where are you going to go? The people in the other cities aren't going to want to sit there and, let hundreds of people in. It's just the way it is, And so it's like, it's unfortunate because there's greed everywhere, and people are nice until they're not nice,
Yeah, well, I appreciate your take on it. I hope your family stays safe. What we're honing in right here on the computer screen is Britton Hill. This is the highest point in Florida at 345 feet above sea level. You can see where it's at. It's in the Panhandle area in the north right there. I just think it's interesting that the only thing that I love Florida, the only thing that keeps me from living in Florida is I don't want to be boarding up my home every year or two. You know what I mean? It seems like such a hassle.
Yep.
But people love it. I love the weather. I love visiting there. But man, I just having your whole life uprooted once every couple years or whatever just does not sound appealing to me.
Yeah. After the waters do drain off a little bit, the winter comes, and so even with that, like it'll be a slow drain for the winter. So like
yeah, I know.
a lot of the water will drain, but then you've got the winter, so it's going to be cold, so the ground will get a little bit more solid, and it will be tougher to drain. So it might be a long winter. People aren't going to be able to go to the river like they like to. I know that the river is it's a wonderful aspect of Florida. The springs. A lot of people think of Florida as the beaches, but the river is a major tourist attraction in Florida. And then they're going to be flooded. You're not going to be able to get to them until probably late spring. They're going to have a lot of cleanup. There's going to be a lot of damage. People are going to be displaced. There might even be some deaths, unfortunately.
Yeah. Does anybody else on the panel want to say anything? What we're looking at right here is a four-way view of Inglewood Beach Cam. In the upper left, upper right is Naples Pier Cam. Naples is getting some pretty good storm surge right now, because when I first started watching this about 2 hours ago, the water level was halfway down the pier in the distance right there. We got Fort Myers in the lower left and Sandy Cay Beach Cam and Longboat Key, Florida on the right, lower right. Anybody else want to say anything before we cut out of here?
Yeah, I would like to say some more if it's okay.
Go for it, man.
So is anybody aware of the 14-year-old girl, I think 12, 14, someone who did a genealogy on all the presidents of the United States?
Yeah.
Are you aware of that? Okay, so we know it's a selection process because her genealogy says they're all related to the Queen, all the way to King John, I think it is. They're all related. And then I looked her up. She says she's related to them. So that makes a lot of sense, because just like that Rothschild girl, what's Greta, whatever, she's a Rothschild. They only let this stuff happen, let this stuff out by their own people. So nobody else could have figured this thing out. And even if they did, they wouldn't have given her airtime. So this girl who had the genealogy of all the presidents being related, she's related as well. So it's all a big game. And they're playing God. There's no way the court system can have all the convictions they have if they allowed God to allowing God to pick who's guilty and who's not guilty. They have to rig the system in order for them to win. So if Vegas owns it, like all sports are rigged or scripted. Golf, NASCAR, football, but you name it, college. If it's a Vegas betting line, it's scripted or rigged. It's not really rigged. You can't rig entertainment. So if you look at the news, if you say what is news categorized, it says entertainment. The news has no obligation to tell you the truth, just the same way as the cops have no obligation to protect you. It's the same thing. So this is all a game. It's all created by CERN or by HARP. These weather manipulations. It's not natural disasters. That's not true. These are man-made disasters. Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah, I know who said that.
It wasn't me. It
Who was
wasn't
it?
me. I'm just repeating.
It was the former mayor in the Windy City. And by the way, Chicago's not the Windy City because of the breeze off the lakefront. Okay, I was born there. Okay, Chicago's the Windy City because of all the hot air being blown out of politicians' asses. That's the truth.
That's right, man. That's right. Well, hey, I appreciate everybody coming on board. I appreciate all the panelists. I appreciate everybody who, real quick shout out to Iron Man Metal. These are all the super chat. Eli, Wisco, Reptiles, Don Anderson, BIP Solar Bear, and Super Mana 69. I appreciate it. Thanks for the support. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If something breaking happens, I'll probably just go ahead and go live. If anybody knows anybody or is in the direct path of the hurricane and they're riding out the storm and you want to contact me and you want to do a live stream, let me know and we can do that. Guys, I appreciate you being with us.
Hey, Brian, thanks, man. I appreciate you putting me on and letting me stay with you for a little while. You know, I've been with you since Grease Monkey days, bro. So,
oh, man.
I mean, you had long brown hair, brown beard, goatee. You know, you were pretty young then, you know, but now you're like me, you know, salty and gray.
Yeah, that's right, man. It happens to all of us, doesn't it?
And I was actually on one of the high impact channels making a comment, and then my screen went blank. And that's when that was, I think, your first one that they cut off.
Oh,
and back in those bad censorship days. Well,
Yeah.
we still have them.
Yeah.
But that was pretty weird.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I appreciate it,
anyway,
guys.
thanks, B.
All right, take care. Have a good one.
All right. God bless you guys in Florida and everywhere else, all the people that are affected. You know, my prayers, my family's prayers to y'all, and I wish you the best.
Likewise. See you later.